Abadan is a city in the capital of Abadan County, Khuzestan Province, which is located in central west of Iran. It lies on Abadan Island, 53 kilometers from the Persian Gulf, near the Iraqi-Iran border. Etymology: the earliest mention of the island of Abadan, if not the port itself, is found in works of the geographer Martian, who renders the name Afadana. Earlier, the classical geographer Ptolemy notes Afana as an island off the mouth of the Tigris. An etymology for this name is presented by B. Faravashi to be derived from the Persian word ab and the root par, thus Coast Guard Station. In the Islamic times, a pseudo-etymology was produced by the historian Ahmad ibn Yahya al-Baladuri, quoting a folk story that the town was presumably founded by one Abad bin Hossein from the Arabian tribe of Banu Tamim, who established a garrison that during the governorship of Hajjaj in the Umayyad period. In the subsequent centuries, the Persian version of the name had begun to come into general use before it was adopted by official decree in 1935. Population: the civilian population of the city dropped close to zero during the 8 years of the Iran-Iraq War. The 1986 census recorded only 6 people. In 1991, 84,774 had returned to live in the city. By 2001, the population had jumped to 206,073, and it was 217,988 in 48,061 families, according to 2006 census. Abadan refinery is one of the largest in the world. Only 9% of managers were from Khuzestan. The proportion of natives of Tehran, the Caspian, Azerbaijan and Kurdistan rose from 4% of blue-collar workers to 22% of white-collar workers to 45% of managers. Thus, minority Arabic speakers were concentrated on the lower rungs of the workforce. Managers tended to be brought in from some distance. There is also a single Armenian church in the center of the city. History: Abadan is thought to have been further developed into a major port city under the Abbasids' rule. In this time period, it was a commercial source of salt and woven mats. The siltation of the river delta forced the town further away from water. In the 14th century, however, Ibn Battuta described Abadan just as a small port in a flat salty plain. Politically, Abadan was often the subject of dispute between the nearby states. In 1847, Persia acquired it from Turkey, in which state Abadan has remained since. For the 17th century onward, the island of Abadan was part of the lands of the Arab Ka'ab tribe. One section of this tribe, Mohazan, had its headquarters at Mahamara, until the removal of Sheikh Azal Khan in 1924. It was not until the 20th century that rich oil fields were discovered in the area. On 16 July 1909, after secret negotiation with the British consul, Percy Cox, assisted by Arnold Wilson, Sheikh Azal agreed to a rental agreement for the island, including Abadan. The Sheikh continued to administer the island until 1924. The Anglo-Persian Oil Company built the first pipeline terminus oil refinery in Abadan, starting in 1909 and completing it in 1912, with oil flowing by August 1912. Refinery throughput numbers rose from 33,000 tons in 1912 1,913 to 4,338,000 tons in 1931. By 1938, it was the largest in the world. During World War II, Abadan was a major logistics center for Lend-Lease aircraft being sent to the Soviet Union by the United States. In 1951, Iran nationalized all oil properties and refining ground to a stop on the island. Rioting broke out in Abadan after the government had decided to nationalize the oil facilities, and 3 British workers were killed. It was not until 1954 that a settlement was reached, which allowed a consortium of international oil companies to manage the production and refining on the island. This continued until 1973, when the NIOC took over all facilities. After total nationalization, Iran focused on supplying oil domestically and built a pipeline from Abadan to Tehran. Whereas Abadan was not a major cultural or religious center, it did play an important role in the Islamic Revolution. On the 19th of August 1978, the anniversary of the US-backed coup d'etat, which overthrew the nationalist and popular Iranian Prime Minister, Dr. Mohammad Mossadegh, the Cinema Rex, a movie theater in Abadan, Iran, was set ablaze. The Cinema Rex fire was the site of 430 deaths, but more importantly, it was another event that kept the Islamic Revolution moving ahead. At the time, there was much confusion and misinformation about the incident. However, the public blamed the local police chief and also the Shah and Savak. The reformist Subhi Emrose newspaper, in one of its editorials, revealed that the Cinema Rex was burned down by the radical Islamists. The newspaper was shut down immediately after. Over time, the true culprits, radical Islamists, were apprehended, and the logic behind this act was revealed, as they were trying both to foment the general public to distrust the government even more, and also as they perceived cinema as a link to the Americans. This fire was one of 4 during a short period in August, with other fires in Mashhad, Rizaya, and Shiraz. In September 1980, Abadan was almost overrun during a surprise attack on Khuzestan by Iraq, marking the beginning of the Iran-Iraq War. For 12 months Abadan was besieged, but never captured by Iraqi forces, and in September 1981, the Iranians broke the siege of Abadan. Much of the city, including the oil refinery, which was the world's largest refinery with capacity of 628,000 barrels per day, was badly damaged and destroyed by the siege and by bombing. Previous to the war, the city's civilian population was about 300,000, but before it was over, almost the entire populace had sought refuge elsewhere in Iran. After the war, the biggest concern was the rebuilding of Abadan's oil refinery, as it was operating at 10% of capacity due to damage. In 1993, the refinery began limited operation and the port reopened. By 1997, the refinery reached the same rate of production as before the war. Recently, Abadan has been the site of major labor activity, as workers at the oil refineries in the city have staged walkouts and strikes to protest non-payment of wages and the political situation in the country. Abadan neighborhoods. Abadan famous neighborhoods such as Ahmedabad, Amir, Worker Dormitory, Layout, Go, Bovade, Province Sector, Iruya, Sector L, Hezarihar, the Dutch noted, Bahar Sector, Jerusalem Sector, Parliament Sector, Golstan Quarters, Al-Fakhari Neighborhood, Koimalate Sector, February Sector, Valley Azhar Sector, Tank Farms, Jamshidabad, Ghanavati Service, Bahrain, Fair Aaron 700, also Farhanjin Sector, who build housing in its vicinity, has been developed. Recent events to honor the 100th anniversary of the refining of oil in Abadan. City officials are planning an oil museum. The Abadan oil refinery was featured on the reverse side of Iran's 100 rial banknotes printed in 1965 and from 1971 to 1973. Climate. The climate in Abadan is arid and similar to Baghdad's, but slightly hotter due to Abadan's lower latitude. Summers are dry and extremely hot with temperatures above 45 degrees Celsius almost daily, and temperatures above 50 degrees Celsius can be almost common. Abadan is notably one of the few hottest populated places on Earth and experiences many sand and dust storms. Winters are mildly wet and spring-like, though subject to cold spells. Winter temperatures are around 16 to 20 degrees Celsius. The world's highest unconfirmed temperature was a temperature flare-up during a heat burst in June 1967, with a temperature of 87 degrees Celsius. Reliable measurements in the city range from -5 to 52 degrees Celsius. Places of interest. The Abadan Institute of Technology was established in Abadan in 1939. The school specialized in engineering and petroleum chemistry, and was designed to train staff for the refinery in town. The school's name has since changed several times, but since 1989 has been considered a branch campus of the Petroleum University of Technology. Centered in Tehran, there is an international airport in Abadan. It is represented by the IATA airport code ABD. Main sites: Mosques, Rangunish Mosque, Museums, Abadan Museum, Historical and Handwritten Documents Museum. Notable people. Sports: Karim Bavi, retired Iranian footballer. Abdul Reza Barzegari, retired Iranian footballer. Ahmad Reza Abedzada, retired Iranian footballer. Parvez Mazloumi, retired Iranian footballer. Gholam Hossein Mazloumi, retired Iranian footballer. Hassan Nazari, retired Iranian footballer. Patrick Baboumian, strongman. Artists: Farzin, Persian pop singer. Hamid Farrokhnezad, actor. Nasser Taveh, film director. Amir Naderi, film director. Ghazal Omid, actor. Aramast Stepanian, actor, producer, director and playwright. Noreen Motamed, painter. Academic Sabi Nathan, Israeli humanitarian and peace activist. Hamid Rashidi, lawyer. Gholam Hossein Divani, accountant. Transportation. The city is served by Abadan Airport with flights on various commercial airlines. Additional reading. Axworthy, Michael. A History of Iran. Empire of the Mind. New York, New York. Basic Books. ISBN 9780465008889.